Hey guys, so welcome back. Yes, we've been talking about how both of the leading candidates for president are unfit to lead. And yes, because of the alleged people who have gone missing and the corruption on the liberal camp side, Lee Jae-myung, makes him really unfit to lead. But I would say now I am 100% that both of them are unfit to lead because Mr. Yoon Seok-yeol, you are a xenophobic racist who is now going after the healthcare of foreign workers who live in Korea and contribute to this society, and you have been proven wrong by your own people. Now, just to get some votes from the xenophobic voter base, he took quick, cheap shots over the weekend on his Facebook. And of course, again, we're seeing a pattern of his campaign pledges being unresearched and unvetted and just kind of flippant like his mouth, where he basically tries to rile up the base and gives them some red meat to gnaw on. In this case, he said that it is foreign workers who are manipulating and taking advantage of Korea's national healthcare system. In Korea, we have a national healthcare system where everybody gets a basic level of insurance and you have to enroll in it. It is by law, and whether you come here and if you get a residency, you have to enroll in it and you pay the government. And I would say compared to the United States, it is a very good system. Now, what Yoon Seok-yeol put out over the weekend was saying that, oh my gosh, the 40 years of blood, sweat, and tears that Korean people have paid into this system, now somebody from another country, foreigners, are coming and putting their meal spoon on top of our table, and we're going to go do something about it. Specifically, he was referring to the fact that if you are a foreigner, you have to live here at least for 6 months in order to register for healthcare. But he said dependents are not counted in that. So you can just fly in your dependents and then have them get medical treatment. And then he zeroed in on Chinese population, saying like, there was one case where some foreign worker flew in a Chinese relative. They got like $3 million worth of medical services, and then they went back home and they only were responsible for like $300,000 of it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. He didn't give any evidence, Mr. Prosecutor, where's your evidence? But even if that were the case, that pales in comparison to all of the shenanigans and then cons that his grown-ho wife and his mother-in-law have been convicted of or accused of, or both. But even if that were the case, people have crunched the numbers. The national healthcare system in Korea essentially is like going broke, but it is being kept afloat and in the black, like it is moving along in profitability because of foreign workers and the foreign population who are paying into the system and not taking out more than they pay in. So essentially, foreign workers come here, they're paying all of this money in terms of their premiums every month, but they're not really receiving that many medical treatments, whereas Korean people are getting way too many medical treatments compared to what they pay. And I would say I have a lot of Korean doctor friends, and some of the insurance abuses that I have seen, oh, honey, they're not foreigners who are taking advantage of the system. Oh, no. They are pure Korean people who are, putting multiple spoons on the meal table that other people have worked for. So don't give me this, Mr. Yoon Seok-yeol, with your, grown-ho wife who is totally conning the system, and even more. How about her? It turns out that even though she has amassed a lot of assets on paper, she pays like the rate that like a homeless person or near homeless person pays for health insurance. And that, again, who is taking advantage of that? So this guy is living in a really big glass house, throwing tons of rocks at everybody, and it is just way too easy to throw the rocks back. Now, we're going to go over the debate that just happened, and it does show a pattern that he is not fit for being president because he actually doesn't know what he's doing. He does not know how to research a policy and the potential effects, whether it is effective or really basically harmful. And he is easily disproven in a quick soundbite on a debate stage. Imagine what that would be in actual real policy. Now, the reason why this is actually quite dangerous is that this kind of language and rhetoric definitely filters through and definitely strengthens xenophobia that I see on a daily basis. Even today, when I was calling my cell phone operator, there is absolutely no reason. You'll see this come up a lot of the times, depending on the person. It's not just because they're Korean. It is an insecure Korean person who wants to use your foreign status against you, and they're testing the waters to see if you're going to respond. So in a weird way, there's like absolutely no reason for them to be like, oh, you're a foreigner. Like, yeah. So? And you could kind of think like, well, maybe they're trying to see whether it affects some sort of like and first I'm like, just like, oh, maybe there is some legitimate reason why like a foreigner or status would affect, it makes absolutely no difference, especially in the tone of the voice afterwards when they're kind of like, like I got you, like as if like that kind of puts you at a disadvantage, and then they kind of try to take advantage of you, which they basically did. Well, basically I'll blast them out in a different thing if it doesn't get resolved. But in a weird way, what that does, and it's especially scary in a healthcare situation, where if these healthcare workers who are politically inclined that way or just personally inclined that way view a foreign patient as mooching and leeching off the system, we all know that there are personal biases in the healthcare system no matter what country you are in. That can affect the way that you are treated medically. That can mean the difference between life and death. And Mr. Yoon Seok-yeol, you have definitely crossed the line with me right now, today, where you are now threatening my life. And for that, I'm going after you. Because I have seen this, even before Yoon Seok-yeol, I have seen this in practice in the medical system as a patient, where I was hospitalized, and I think it was against my will. But essentially, make the long story short, I was hospitalized. Basically it was like food poisoning, but I was hospitalized for a while, and I could totally tell that I was being so disregarded because of a foreigner status, and also I could hear them talk. Now, to make the long story short, I think about a year or 2 years after, the same hospital, same department, the Thai ambassador's wife went there, and apparently they were accusing her of being too fussy or not, or like basically like talking too much, or like she was probably trying to describe her conditions, but then she ended up passing away. I was just like, karma, man, karma. Because there's that whole thing about like when you're in a hospital setting and you're not listening to the patient and you're making assumptions, because they were making so many assumptions about me, basically for my condition, not knowing what condition I was going in there. They said, how can this be? Because you're so young, and this was like 10 years ago. So like, I wasn't even that young. and besides, honey, I'm 43. So 10 years ago or more than that, they were like, oh, you're so young and active. They had no idea that, because I was doing TV at the time and doing all sorts of weird stuff, like I was on some stupid diet where basically I would like starve myself all day and just eat peanut butter like when I got hungry. And so like a spoonful or something. And so my body was not in any good condition. No, it was not in any strong condition, but they just made assumptions. And because I was trying to speak up, they're like, oh, you're just being so American, or you're just being like, why don't you respect the doctor, or like, listen to like what we're saying. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. Now fast forward this with like a lot of xenophobia and resentment and prejudice piled up, and then you have a presidential candidate who is now creating a greater atmosphere of racism, xenophobia, and fear among the medical establishment, and then even introducing this thing like, oh, maybe they're scamming the medical system. Don't you think that that's going to affect the way that they are going to treat you or not treat you, or just kind of like let you go? Who knows? I mean, because that lady probably had no business, the Thai ambassador's wife had probably no business passing away. And that was quietly covered up and just like, kind of like let go. I don't know exactly what the details were, but I looked at that. I look at this situation. I always look at that kind of like, kind of scenario as so unfortunate, because it's not science and it's not medicine at that point. It's people to people. And when you have somebody up that high creating these kind of statements, yeah, that creates a very dangerous situation for people's well-being. So how much are foreigners overpaying? It's about $500 million. So hello, Mr. Yoon. Tell me about how much scams your family has been involved in. How many millions of dollars is that compared to the alleged amounts that foreigners are taking advantage of the system, when overall we are propping it afloat? We are making sure that the insurance system and healthcare system continues to run properly for all of Korea. Where is the thanks in that? And we will get into your grown-ho wife, where basically she should stop spreading her legs for stock options. She was involved in some sort of stock manipulation case with this BMW affiliate that hasn't been resolved. Where are the bank records that people have been requesting for the remainder of the stocks that you supposedly sold, but actually you lied about and you did not sell? So where are the records? And tell her to stop spreading her legs to get stuff. I'm done. But not really, we're gonna keep going. But that's all that we'll have for today. Let us know what you think. I might have gotten a little bit heated, but people are very serious about their healthcare or just their lives. And I don't think he realizes these statements actually have an effect and a consequence that can affect people's life and death. And if he doesn't realize that, then he should not be the president and have decision-making power over millions of lives. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Bye-bye.